This is Strawberry Ink, and today we're taking you to the rugged, icy edges of Alaska. The kind of place where nature can swallow evidence and silence echoes of violence for years. But some stories, no matter how remote, eventually surface, and when they do, they can be as haunting as the landscape they emerged from. This is the story of Brian Stephen Smith, a case that began on a memory card labeled homicide and ended in a courtroom with a long sentence. On October 8th, 2019, Ted Stevens, Anchorage International Airport, saw something history marking. Amid the usual bustle of travelers, Brian Stephen Smith had just returned from a trip outside the state of Alaska, but he would not make it past baggage claim. Anchorage police were waiting for him. They arrested him on the spot, and he was taken to the Anchorage Correctional Complex, the city's primary detention facility. This was after processing at the airport security headquarters. The next day, he appeared at the Anchorage jail court before Magistrate Adams Glenallen. Bond was set to $250,000 cash only. But there was a catch. If Smith managed to post that and then violated the conditions, the bond would automatically increase to $500,000. The state was not taking any chances. Smith was assigned to public defender Timothy Ayer. I would like to mention that moving forward with this episode, listener discretion is advised. This has been part 1 of the story. Now, moving on to part 2. It was brought to light what Brian Stephen Smith allegedly did to 4 victims. He targeted random people who looked as if they were either homeless or poor. He offered them money, food, and a place to spend the night. What he would do later, he would sexually assault them and kill them. He was a dangerous sex predator. In an unrelated case, he was convicted of sexual abuse charges for a victim that managed to escape. To escape, two did not. According to camera footage recovered by investigators, 2 of his victims died at his home as he filmed the killings and sexual assaults. Some people, including advocates and local residents, believe that some missing people in the area may also be the victims of Brian Stephen Smith. Even some investigators think he killed more people but got away with them. Investigators used cell phone data to find the bodies. However, it was difficult. But on October 2nd, 2019, railroad workers working along the Seaward Highway discovered human skeleton remains and called the cops. Nearby, there was another body that had not been as decomposed, and it was also around the Seaward Highway. Both bodies were identified through DNA testing. The skeleton one as Kathleen Jo Henry and the other one as Veronica Abouchuk. Through phone data, the path of Brian Stephen Smith was traced, and surveillance footage was checked. He had been in hotel rooms with the victims and was indeed the one who dumped their bodies. The Alaska Office of Medical Examiner released their causes of death. Kathleen Jo Henry had been tortured and strangled to death. Veronica Abouchuk had been shot in the head and bled to death. In the SD card video, Brian Stephen Smith could be seen dancing and singing an AC/DC song. When killing one of his victims, he is awaiting sentencing for an unrelated case regarding one of his escaped victims. Behind the scenes, Anchorage District Attorney Brittany Dunlop was already preparing for the next move. She presented evidence to a grand jury which returned an indictment for 5 felony charges: 2 of first-degree murder, 1 count of second-degree sexual assault, 1 count of evidence tampering, and 1 of court's misconduct. There were 2 different probes within the state of Alaska. The other one of the unrelated sexual abuse I will be covering in a later episode. That remains delayed. Dunlop later unsealed the indictment and passed the prosecution duties to her assistant, Deputy District Attorney Heather Nobrega. Brian Stephen Smith entered his pleas in the Anchorage Superior Court before Judge Michael Warburton. He pleaded not guilty to all charges, but the stakes rose. His bond was now set at $1 million, an amount that ensured he would remain behind bars until trial. The trial began on February 6, 2024, 4 days after Groundhog Day. The presiding judge was Kevin Saxby, and the jury consisted of 12 members plus 1 alternate. Over the course of more than 2 weeks, the court listened to testimony, reviewed forensic evidence, and viewed the deeply disturbing footage that had been initiated during the investigation. Recordings recovered from a memory card found on an Anchorage street. On February 22nd, during the week of President's Day, the jury returned its verdict: guilty on all counts. His bond that he never posted was immediately revoked. In March, Judge Saxby ruled that Smith would receive consecutive prison terms for each conviction. By April, all motions to toss the convictions were denied, and a month later, it was confirmed that, according to this judge, there would be no retrial. Then came sentencing. On July 12, 2024, Smith was formally sentenced. Judge Saxby delivered a total of 226 years in prison. Consecutive terms: 99 years for Kathleen Jo Henry's murder. For the murder of Veronica Abouchuk, another 99 years. 22 years for sexual assault. 2 years for evidence tampering, and 4 for corpse misconduct. All terms were ordered to be served consecutively, ensuring that Smith would never walk free again. He almost got away with these gruesome crimes if it were not for the victims who escaped and reported it to law enforcement. Despite the verdict and the sentence, Smith has appealed his case. As of May 2025, that appeal remains pending. Smith is currently incarcerated at the Cook Inlet pretrial facility. He is still in Anchorage, behind bars, surrounded by the same unforgiven Alaskan wilderness that once masked his crimes. Alaska, vast, untamed, and indifferent, is a place where predators can hide in plain sight. But in this case, justice caught up. This is Strawberry Ink. I'm Santiago, and sometimes the darkest stories come from the coldest places. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and have a good rest of your day.